Gold is crashing while Bitcoin and the stock markets are on the rise. But if you had invested 10,000 euros at the beginning of this week, where would you stand today? Let's find out. Welcome to Financeology. Today we're going to see what would have happened if you had invested 10,000 euros in various assets at the start of the week. Of course, this is not about trying to make a quick money. Our goal here is to observe how global financial assets perform against the euro and gain a better understanding of the economic change in just 1 week. Let's get started. Gold dropped by 5.22%, making it the worst performing asset of the week. A 10,000 euro investment on Monday would have fallen to just 9,477 euros by Friday. Let's take a quick look at its chart. And on the chart, the sharp decline is definitely clearly visible. And then this drop may be linked to the de-escalation in tensions between the US and China and due to their agreement. And also we are aware of the signs of a possible resolution to Iran-Israel conflict. And just like as geopolitical uncertainty fades, investors often move away from these safe havens like gold, silver, and even Swiss franc, favoring riskier assets instead, like stock exchange of US S&P 500, German exchange like DAX. Here also we could just like see that dollar just like lost 2% of its value against euros. Also just like we could say that dollar is just like losing its value against most of these international assets, international currencies, we could say. So if you would have just like converted your 10,000 euros and invested on dollars, this week, dollar just like lost a lot of value against a lot of international currencies. And one of them is for sure euros. And if you would have just like sell your 10,000 euros on Monday and converted to the euros, and if you would have just sell it on Friday, you would have lose your just like 2% of your money, and it would have been like 9,795 euros. And just like we can also just give it a look to the chart of it to understand it in a better perspective. And just like for sure the loss of the just like US dollar is just like clearly visible on the chart, and it has just like lost its value against euros drastically, I could say. Silver just also declined 1.7%, bringing a 10,000 euro investment down to 9,829 euros. And just like when we just like check out the weekly graph of it, we can just like see the high volatility during the week, but the overall trend was downward. Similar to gold, silver is also considered as a safe haven, and in times of stabilizing global outlook, demand for such assets typically decreases. So the first one of our top gainers is just like Bitcoin, and then just like if you would have just like invested 10,000 euros on Bitcoin on Monday, and if you would have just like sell it on 27th, you would have got 10,319 euros on Friday. And then we can check out the chart of it, and as seen on the chart, reduced fear of conflict and improving global trade sentiment may have shifted liquidity into the riskier assets like cryptocurrencies. And just like in the beginning of the week, it was lower than the current price for sure, and then just like it increased drastically again. So S&P 500 representing the US equities increased by 1.9%, turning 10,000 euros into the 10,194 euros. Dollar's decline against the euro slightly reduced the gains for euro-based investors for sure. And then so for the American investors, the profit could have been way more than that. But as I mentioned, just like since dollar just like lost its value against the other currencies, actually the net profit of the American index funds in euro is way lower than that. Another asset is just like DAX 40 asset, which represents Germany's main stock index, and it was the top performer of the week, gaining 3.54% and growing portfolio to 10,339 euros. When we check out the chart of it, we could easily see that the chart reflects strong performance across the week, and it was always going upward. Combined with the euro strength, it was a profitable week overall for the eurozone investors, I could say. BIST 100, which is an Istanbul stock exchange, which is just like a Turkey's main stock index, also deserves a brief mention as I actively track this highly dynamic market. So volatile movements for this market this week. And then despite domestic uncertainties and the market swings, it managed a modest 0.17% gain, ending the week in 10,016 years. In summary, gold took the biggest hit this week, while Bitcoin and the DAX 40 brought solid returns for the investors. So what is your prediction for the next week? Will gold recover? Can Bitcoin continue to rise? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and if you find value in these short, clear, and data-driven finance updates, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like this video. See you in the next episode of our weekly market recap. Stay tuned, stay smart.